Operation Till, you should advise me. If this is getting too long, we can
another
skip.
20 minutes.
Another, okay. Operation number 5, push and pull. This was a project we did in Memphis. It's outside a performing arts center built in Memphis in 2004. The reason they wanted a project here was that, as in a lot of designs, they didn't realize that they were making this kind of leftover space at this corner. So they wanted to use this leftover space. It's a performing arts center. Inside, could this leftover space be some kind of plaza that people could use during intermissions at a performance event? An overhang of the building is on top of this leftover space. So the way we started was, what if we stood under this overhang of the building? What if we could fling a liquid out into the air? But whatever we fling has to stand up. So we pull it down to make columns. At the same time, we push it up to make a funnel. The funnel then brings down sunlight, like spotlights inside the Performing Arts Center. We could now have spotlights of sun outside. The sunlight is replaced by artificial light at night. Another funnel is pulled down towards the entrance of the Performing Arts Center, so it lights the entrance as you go in. That project will come back to the Soul project. Now that we have this building on this landscape, the building has to have different kinds of spaces inside. A concert hall, an opera house. So we tried to use a kind of push and pull system. We kind of suck the skin in to make a circulation route through the building. Now that we have a circulation route, we kind of pull out from the circulation route to make a concert hall, make an opera house. Another example of push and pull is a project. This is a site of a project we built recently in New York. It's a subway station. It's an elevated subway station in Coney Island. Since Coney Island is there, the amusement park, the beach, it was brought up to us that we had to have views to the beach. So we tried to use this. We tried to use the ocean as a model. The way the ocean heaves up and down. Can our facade heave? So upstairs, the facade parts. It bulges out. It reaches a breaking point and opens to make a view. Sometimes these bulges don't part to make a view, and then they just part enough so that you can use them as seats. So this wave in and out system is used for windows, for seats. Operation number 6. Not an end, but a medium. Not an object, but an instrument. An architecture of surroundings. Back to the Memphis project. The structure of the columns. The structure of the columns folds out at the bottom, so now you can sit. I mean, what we always try to do in our project is, how can a project be used by people? So you can sit outside the column, but the column is hollow. The surface, both inside and outside, is mirrored. So now, when you're inside the column, the sky is reflected down on the circular wall around you. So in effect, you're kind of sitting inside a room of sky. Another example of mirror is this umbrella we started to work on. We haven't made a prototype yet. A little fashion magazine called The Black Box proposed to us that the umbrella hasn't been redesigned in years. Could we try a new design? We started with the idea of ruffles in clothing. So the ruffles would make a kind of folding system. So we made something that we called an umbrella. It's made of two-way mirrored mylar. So when you're wearing it, because of the difference of light inside and outside, you can see out. But from outside, there are just reflections. So you become camouflaged. This project comes back later. I want to try to maybe skip some things. Operation number 8, folding in folding. This was a project we almost won last year, a competition we almost won for a museum in Perm in Russia. A lot of these competitions, when somebody almost wins, really nobody wins. They start to give it to somebody else, but then don't. It's a museum in Perm in Russia. The site of the museum was at the top of this slope. Our starting point was that this slope is too strong for the museum to resist. So instead of the museum staying at the top of the slope, the museum starts to come down the slope. Come down the slope towards the river, into the river. There are railroad tracks halfway down the slope. This part of Perm is in a very out of the way place. So we needed a way for visitors to get to this museum. So we thought we would make part of the museum a railroad stop. So the train then could take people directly to the museum. Operation number 9, stretch, tentacles and feelers, and architecture of landscape. This is the site of a skate park that was very close to being built a few years ago in San Juan. In Puerto Rico. When we went to see the site, we realized there were 3 high points on the site. There's a pedestrian bridge over a restaurant. On one side of the pedestrian bridge, there's a cone-shaped hill. On the other side, there's a slope that goes up to a plateau that looks out over the ocean. So the way we saw it was, it's as if the skate park is already there. All we have to do is maybe fit out and connect the high points. Because it seems, skateboarding exists from going from high point, go down, get enough impetus to go up to the next high point. So one thing we wanted to do with our skate park was that we wanted to make it part of the overall landscape. We didn't want to isolate skateboarders. We wanted to try to, can we find a way to join pedestrians and skateboarders? So on either side of the pedestrian bridge over the restaurant, there's this snake run of skaters. In the meantime, pedestrians. We wanted to try to create occasions where pedestrians are going under skateboarders, next to skateboarders. On one side, the skating ramps now go towards the cone-shaped hill. Instead of lying over the hill, they insert themselves. They go into the hill. So the bowls of our skate park, the bowls of our skate park are in the interior of the hill. On the other side, the skating ramps start to step up the slope up to the plateau, and then on the plateau become quarter pipes or half pipes out into the ocean. Operation number 10, braid, knot, weave. A few years ago, New York City had a competition for a new light system. It turned out that the light system that won was very much like the existing light system. But what the competition brief suggested was that the new light posts had to hold different kinds of signs, different kinds of light. So they suggested a very thick light post that could hold many different lights and signs at once. We thought maybe that was wrong-headed. They didn't need all the different kinds in every place. So we tried to do the opposite. Let's have the thinnest possible light post. Each thin light post would have one kind of light, one kind of sign. So the more you needed, you braided these thin posts together, and had all the different kinds. Operation number 11, twist, warp, morph. This was a gallery we made in New York in 2002, based on the notion of the whole space being covered with expanded metal, so that you never had to make holes in the wall, because ending soon? Okay, I'll try. So you never had to make holes in the walls because the wall was full of holes. Around the same time, in 2003, we did a project in Graz. We were asked to do a person-made island, that would function as a theater, a cafe, and a playground. So we started with the conventional shape of a theater, a bowl. What if we twist the bowl? We turn the bowl upside down. Twisting the bowl, then, the bowl is the theater, twisting the bowl makes the roof of the cafe. The twisting space from one to the other makes the playground. It's lit at night. Light shines down from the dome, from the roof of the cafe. Light shines up from the bleachers. Here you're in the theater. The theater is changing into a dome. People walking into the dome space, which is the cafe. Oh, maybe this is a convenient end. Let me at least try to describe a little bit the theater. You enter under a canopy that twists down to make lounge seating around the cafe. There's also movable, stackable seating, so you can put two tables together for 4 people, 3 tables together for 6. Our bar has this rubber band at the top of the bar. It twists down and multiplies. It multiplies into multiple bar counters. The reason for that was that we try to consider the parameters of people using the space. If we're making a bar, we can assume that somebody is going to be drunk. Somebody's going to be so drunk they can't see. If there are 3 bar counters, maybe wherever you put your drink, you might be able to get it there. Okay, we should probably end. I just want to go over just a few things. This was an ideas competition for a plaza in Strasbourg a few years ago. We wanted to make a constantly changing plaza, something we called a plaza of plazas. So these arcs would have canopies, would have ceilings that you could constantly change. The bars of the arc would be filled with light. The furniture would constantly be movable. There would be tracks in the ground, so you could move seat next to seat. You could move tables together to make a marketplace, seats together to make a theater. A project we're working on in the north of France. The notion of change is really important to us. This is a project for a fishing port in the north of France. It has a few different parts. One part goes over a body of water. So we designed a bridge that doubles as a restaurant, as a cafe. So it's a linear bridge. One long side is the bar. Seats and tables on the other side. This body of water is a lock, so it has to retract when ships come in. So we're working with engineers, Bureau Happold, to make this bridge that people can stay on as the bridge retracts. So when a ship comes in, this bridge now starts to wind up like a snake or like a kind of coil. It's still a restaurant. So it used to be a linear restaurant. Now it's a clustered restaurant. Another part of this fishing port has to have a park. We thought a park here at the ocean should be different from a park on dry land. So we've suggested so far a pipe system that brings water underground. The tide changes 10 meters each day. So the furniture of the park changes according to the tide. At low tide, there's an amphitheater going into the ground. At mid-tide, no amphitheater. At high tide, amphitheater going out. Another kind of change is this is the Seoul Performing Arts Center. I mentioned that the island is flooded. I mentioned that there are these capsules used as hotels. When the flood occurs, these hotel capsules now are floating in the water. It was an initial proposal, so we didn't have to ask ourselves questions like, what happens if the flood lasts for 2 weeks? But I think we would have answered. One of these capsules would have been a rescue boat and would get people away.